Wonderful. Thank you very much. Y'all did such a good job. So proud of y'all. Thank you, Reese, for helping them too. If you would please open your Bibles to the Gospel of Mark chapter 5, and let's do some studying together. We are looking in the life of Jesus. The Gospel of Mark is a gospel of action. Jesus is in motion. A lot of things are happening, and this is one of the more fascinating events in the life of Jesus that we shall examine today. And we'll try to think about some 2022 applications as well from this. This is Mark chapter 5, beginning with verse 1. Then they came. There would be a large number of people with Jesus, following him, his closest people, and those coming after him to get something from him. Then they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit. Several things there in verse 2. You notice the word immediately. That's one of Mark's favorite words. There is a lot of motion. There's a lot of movement. There are a lot of events or a lot of verbs in the Gospel of Mark. And it kind of reminds us of the wearying effect of all this on the life of Jesus. He never gets a break. He comes by boat to the other side, and he's not able to just kind of take in the scenery, catch his breath, get his bearings. It's just immediately again, there's somebody who needs him. And this somebody that needs him is extraordinary. This is a very unique circumstance that this poor man is dealing with. Immediately there met him out of the tombs. So this is a man that has been living, by the way we'd put it, he's been living in a cemetery. He's been living where dead men live, where dead men die, where dead men don't live, actually. That's where he is. And he's a man with an unclean spirit. Some translations will say he's a man with a devil in him there, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains. What a strong force this is. What a scary man this is. What a pitiful story he has. Look at verse 4. Because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, neither could anyone tame him. That word for tame is kind of mild for what we're describing here. Nobody could control him. Nobody could restrain him. We often think of a person who maybe emotionally cannot be restrained. They just can't control their emotions. And because they can't control their emotions or won't control their emotions, cannot or will not control their behavior. We have never, I suppose, except in movies, we've never encountered a force like this. I mean, this is a force of fantasy. This is a force of the make-believe world that cannot be. He is so powerful. And I admire the people in the land of the Gadarenes because they tried. Looks like they've tried many times to restrain this fella, to save him and them, probably. And it's just not working out. Verse 5. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. Are you getting a visual of the trouble that this man is in, of the trouble that he is causing in that community? Can people leave their homes? Can children go anywhere safely? It's not just something you can see, apparently. It's something you can hear from a distance. And notice verse 6. Finally, he's going to get some relief. And when he saw Jesus from afar, he ran. Isn't this an interesting response? And worshiped him. The word worship literally means to kiss towards. It means to pay respect to. So he goes and he worships Jesus. He cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus?" And notice the devils even know this. Who is Jesus? He is a son of the Most High God. I implore you by God that you do not torment me. He knows who Jesus is. He knows that Jesus has the power to do what other people do not have the power to do. What an interesting request. Do not torment me. So if you follow along, you're going to see some begging in this section of Scripture. You're going to see he's begging Jesus, don't hurt me. He's begging Jesus to not do to him what he is doing to himself. I can hurt myself, but I don't want you to hurt me. I can hurt other people, but I don't want you to hurt me. And notice what happens, verse 8. For he said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." Then he asked him, "What is your name?" He answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." So there are many torments inside this poor fella. Verse 10, also he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. So he's first begged him, don't hurt me. Now he has pulled these legions of demons out of this man, and it's like there's a spokesman demon saying, don't send me out of this country. It's such an odd request. He is familiar with this area. He doesn't want to leave this area. And then verse 11. And there is no commentary you can buy that has a good explanation for this. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. So all the demons begged him. You see this begging theme, saying, "Send us into the pigs, into the swine, that we may enter them." And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the pigs, entered the swine. Notice how many there. There were about 2,000. That's a lot of pigs. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. Let's stop here. And then we'll pick up there with verse 14, so keep a finger there. Odd. This man has the oddest and most violent of behavior. Jesus comes, and the demons inside him recognize who Jesus. You see that frequently with the demons recognizing Jesus. James says the devils believe and tremble. Okay. And then you have this odd request. Don't hurt me. Don't torment me. And then he's compelled to come out of the man, these demons. And then another odd request. Don't send me out of this country. And then you have this extra odd request. Send us into the swine that we may enter them. They've left the man, and now they want to go in pigs. And surprise, surprise, Jesus, big word for Bruton boy, he acquiesces. He consents to have these spirits go in these pigs. It makes me wonder, here's the question, I mean, you're just going to waste your money on commentaries, waste your money if you do an internet search, trying to get a reasonable explanation here. What does Jesus have against pigs? Why did he agree? You got Bible scholars. Why did he agree to do this? Where are you? Where are you? Yes, ma'am? Pigs are unclean. Remember Luke 15, the lost boy, prodigal son, he's feeding pigs. Later, of course, pigs would not be unclean. You know, new law, new day. Thankful for us, those of you that like ribs, you know, like your little barbecue pork sandwich, you know. But you see the rest of the story here. These demons go in these pigs, and these pigs go off down into the sea and they're drowning. There's no mention here of the economic cost to the pig farmers. My daddy had 50 pigs at one time. I don't recommend that as a get-rich scheme. Pigs are dirty. They're messy. They break out of, a vault of a bank. I mean, they can get out of anything, and they're just tough. They're tough to deal with. They're loud. They're cranky. 2,000 of them. And 2,000 of them go into the sea. And then you've got, probably some of you don't think, maybe like I do on some levels, which is a blessing to you, but then just think about, you've got all these 2,000 pig carcasses washing up on the shore. And what that would do to the sinuses. This just... So notice, I think this is predictable here, verse 14, isn't it? Maybe this is the first predictable thing in all this. So those who fed the swine fled. They see their pigs acting like they got demons in them, and they go down, rush, they kill themselves, basically. Can you imagine how these pigs would have acted had they continued to live? That would have been a nightmare. So the pig feeders, probably not the pig owners, but those who are working for the owners, they told it in the city and in the country. Can you imagine their story? You know that guy that we tried to chain up, kept breaking through? We watched somebody cast those demons out of him, and then we watched these pigs go crazy, and we couldn't stop them from going down the water and drowning themselves. So you've got a crazy scene of this man coming out of the tombs daily, it says, and in the mountains screaming and threatening and doing his thing, trumped by something even more preposterous in its appearance, all these pigs acting crazy and killing themselves. And so they've told that story, and they went out to see what it was that had happened. What are they looking for? They're looking for a bunch of dead pigs in the water. They're looking for that man who had been crazy, evil, to be acting more normal. Verse 15, then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion. Now, look how he's acting. Sitting and clothed and in his right mind. They've never seen that before. And notice this unusual response. And they were afraid. Why aren't they happy? Why aren't they comforted? Why are they afraid? It's probably just that they're afraid of the unknown, the unseen before. Maybe they're afraid he's going to get back into his old behavior. How do they know this is going to take, for example? How do they know this isn't a trick? Okay. Will the prescription last? So they're scared. By the way, one of the great messages from Christ when he came here is fear not. Do not be afraid. His eye, don't be afraid. Remember when he sees the women after he's up from the grave. Don't be afraid. Remember when he's walking on the water, disciples him, they think it's a ghost. It's I. Don't be afraid. When Jesus comes, hopefully fear departs. So they come to Jesus, see the scene, they're afraid. Now notice 16. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed and about the swine. Now notice 17. Then they began to plead. That's our begging theme again. They began to plead with him to depart from their region. Isn't that interesting? Think about all the begging. You got the man begging Jesus, the demons, don't torment me. You got Jesus healing. You got the legions begging him, please put us in the swine. Don't make us leave the country. Of course, they didn't know, I guess, that the pigs, when they got demon-possessed, would end up killing themselves in the water. That's probably not what they projected happening. Then you've got the people coming and begging Jesus, the one they need in their community. They want him out of there. It's is it a case of them valuing pigs more than they value Jesus? And you think about 22 applications here. Are there things we can value more than we value the presence of Jesus in our life? There certainly are. We all can be guilty of I appreciate what somebody said a long time ago. He said, things can become kings. And maybe in this case, 2,000 pigs, that is a substantial economic loss. I mean, that's big time. And plus, if you're a pig farmer, you probably don't have much to begin with. And then you lose all that. And maybe some of these that are saying we need Jesus out of here, maybe they also had livestock too. Well, this man hates pigs. He hates pigs, maybe he hates cows, maybe it's camels, maybe he hates sheep. Maybe he's not going to be. That they lost sight of the big picture. I don't know if it was for economic reasons, just the uncertainty, but why weren't they grateful that this man had been healed? Why wasn't that the dominating thought? Why wouldn't they want Jesus to stay with them because Jesus can get rid of evil things? It's a great mystery here, the attitude of these people.
They probably was afraid of what he might do that harmed them.
I just to follow on Linda's thought, maybe they're afraid of what might happen to them. Aren't we afraid of the unknown? Just as a general rule, the unknown can be problematic for us, and there's a lot of unknowns here. We've been looking at this passage basically ever since we've been a Christian. Have you heard a sermon on this one lately? This is not a text that preachers are drawn to because there's more unknown than known here. There's just there's not a lot that you can look at and say with conviction, here's why this happened and here's the application for us. And that's why, to me, this is one of the most fascinating days in the life of Jesus. It's fascinating in the life of these folks in the Gadarenes. And it is interesting also to me, verse 18, that Jesus doesn't protest. Jesus was never pushy, was he? He never imposed himself on people that didn't want him. What's he doing 18? And when he got in the boat, that's maybe the same boat he just got out of, he's getting back in it already. He got in the boat. He who had been demon-possessed begged, we got more begging, begged him that he might be with him. Now, why did he want to be with Jesus? 2 reasons, I think. Maybe you've got better reasons in your mind. Just share them. But one reason, he appreciates what Jesus has done. He wants to be with this great problem solver. Because his life was a wreck. Talk about brokenness in the sermon this morning. There's nobody more broken than this fella. He's broken times 1,000, right? And now he wants to be with the one who's cured him. Understandable. But maybe just as a practical matter, how can he live in that community anymore? How can he live there anymore in view of what he has done? People are going to be afraid of him. People are going to be talking about him. People are going to be blaming him for the death of their pigs. It seems to me that the life in that community is going to be Are there some neighborhoods, some communities that you would find more difficult to be in than others? Jesus said a prophet is not without honor, saving his own community or his own town. Right? Thomas Wolfe wrote I'll come to him in just a minute, Dan. Thomas Wolfe, he's famous for saying, you can't go home again. Now, you and I discount that, but we understand the point behind that. Sometimes it's tough to go back to the place yeah, Dan? Yeah, you see, and that naturally leads us into Christ's response to him. Again, there's a lot of puzzlements here. He got in the boat, he had been demon-possessed, begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, go home to your friends. So he does still have friends, people who have not given up on him, and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you. 20, and he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. So he wants to go with Jesus. Jesus says, no, I've got a better assignment for you. And what a great testimony he was for them. It's kind of like those of us that have gotten out of a bad situation, brokenness or whatever. Aren't we the ones that can help somebody better deal with that? Somebody that has been through and survived divorce, for example, aren't you stronger and you can help? We don't recommend, you have to go through that pain, but because you survived the pain, you can help somebody else. We have cancer survivors that can help and encourage others. We have those who have broken free of an addiction. We have those who have overcome horrific things, challenging moments, maybe not to the extent of what this fellow has overcome, but those folks are the best testimony. Those who've lived a pristine, almost perfect life, don't have much to offer us in practical advice or strength, and this is how you deal with this. If you've had a perfect child, you can't help me deal with my child who has some struggles, can you? Not as effectively, right? In Ukraine, the Russian Orthodox, there's a branch of that religion over there that is really aloof from the people. I mean, just way above. You really can't have, the only contact you can have with those priests is when you're confessing sins and asking them for help. And so how can they be helpful when they're living in an unreal type of existence, a false type of existence? They don't know what it's like to have an argument with a spouse and try to fix it. They don't know what it's like to wait up and your kid isn't home at the time they're supposed to be home. They don't know what it's like to try to pay the bills because, the church handles all their bills and try to manage resources and stuff. So this fella who's overcome massive demon possession, lived to tell about it. Can you imagine? The fascinating story, the inspirational message that he has? You think you got problems? Let me tell you my story. Chains couldn't hold me. Shackles were shattered by me. Everybody ran from me, and they should. But look at me now, and it's because of Jesus. Well, tell me more about Jesus. And you would guess then, you ever have buyer's remorse? You buy something, you think, before you even get out of the store, you think, that was a bad idea. I think these folks in the Gadarenes area had buyer's remorse, thinking, I wish we hadn't told Jesus to get out. Now that we've got the rest of the information. Have you ever noticed, and that was our 5-minute bell, our time just races by in here, and I apologize for not giving you more time to talk, but have you noticed that many of your quick decisions are wrong? More your spontaneous stuff, a spontaneous purchase, a spontaneous statement, oftentimes is a mistake, and we should have just not been in such a hurry. That's why, no disrespect to salesmen, right? But they'll say, what can I do now to put you in this vehicle before you leave this lot, Or you get this call for a vacation, a cruise, whatever, but to be able to take the offer, you got to accept while you're on the phone with them. You got to make a quick decision. Quick decisions are oftentimes wrong decisions. And those folks, they made a quick decision. We want Jesus gone. And that was a mistake. They needed Jesus in that community. They needed his help. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Thanks for staying in class. And let's Covey back up, please, tonight at 5:30.